Good morning to everybody out there. I don't know if it's morning depending on where you're watching this, but shouts out to my YouTube, Instagram, Facebook family. Hit the like, share, subscribe button. It costs you nothing. But one thing I want to talk about today, right? Today we're going to talk about the Great Brain Drain. If you don't know what the Great Brain Drain is, a huge conversation within a Pan-Africanist community. The Great Brain Drain, I'm just going to make it short, is just about how the best and the brightest of us black men are being pulled out of our communities to go work in other communities, and women, men and women, are being pulled out of our communities to go work for white companies, white banks, white hospitals, white supply chain logistics, white technology firms, you know what I'm saying, or China or India or Germany, some foreign country. We're being the best and the brightest. So for instance, real quick, let's say like a American educational system, what they do in other countries, to say like Africa or something, is they keep track of like the smartest and the brightest across Africa. And what they do is they like to pull them out, take them to a foreign country as they utilize all those skills which they could be utilizing for their home country, and burn them out, and then at the end of it they retire and then they move back, which isn't bad, but I'm just saying it's something that it is bad, but which is something that we need to notice as black people. Sometimes you might not want to take that big check so that you can help your people. You get what I'm saying? But we have a lot of selfishness and greed within ourselves. So one brother I want to talk about right now is called Van Jones. If you don't know who Van Jones is, you've probably seen him on CNN, but CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, all over the place. He is what they call the black guy that they call to when they need a black guy's opinion. Call Van Jones, because Van Jones is what we would call a brain drain product of the Great Brain Drain. Van Jones is a lawyer by profession. He's also a political pundit. He went to the University of Tennessee because that's where he's from. Then he also went to Yale Law School. Smart guy, political analyst. At one point he was a big Marxist and all that type of stuff. He had distal writings of Mumia Abu Jamal. If you don't know who he is, he's a political prisoner. I think he's from out of Pennsylvania or something, back in the 70s. He was in the Black Panther movement and all of that, but right now he's serving a life sentence with no parole because they said he killed a police officer. No, he didn't. If he did, but anyway, he used to be very politically active when he was younger. This is what you will find with a lot of black men who are extremely educated. When they were younger, in their early 20s, 30s, even 40-ish is when they start slowing down, right? Because you start getting older, you start looking at a secure future. And so you say to yourself, I can either take this struggle path of fighting, or I can just go with the flow of things and just, calm it down. I might say something here and there, but we're not going to go organize and be in the front and pushing an agenda. So Van Jones was one of those type of brothers, young, but then he started working for the Obama administration. But he had to resign because they said he wasn't being bipartisan. He said some things, and then he had the whole green jobs. And to make a long story short, if you remember the Obama administration, they were pussies. Scary, sorry for the language. But they were scared of the Republicans. Everything they did was always, well, how the Republicans going to look at it? How especially Rush Limbaugh. If Rush Limbaugh, that was when Rush Limbaugh was at his heyday. That white supremacist piece of shit. He's dead now, thank God. I'm being honest. Rush Limbaugh was, if you ever listen to Rush Limbaugh, you will see the decrepit, disgusting racism spewing out of his radio station every day. And he was a big Obama hater. He was the one that was helping Donald Trump push Obama wasn't born in America. We need to see his birth certificate. They were the ones pushing the Michelle Obama's a man. They were the ones pushing the Muslims are coming here to kill us. They were the ones pushing the black people are violent and they need to be building more prisons and more policing, not more resources. Everyone knows poverty is a mother of crime. It's just the truth. And so then also, so they built a smear campaign on him, calling him a communist. So after Van Jones was fired and let go, right, from the green jobs department that Obama had, Van Jones kind of like disappeared. You would see him on CNN here and there. I like Van Jones. But one thing I noticed, like this brother was always crying on TV. There's a police brutality. You don't understand. I'm like, all right, brother, it's sad, but we don't need you on national TV. Sorry, TV crying all the time. Like Google Van Jones crying on YouTube. If you don't know who he is, it's probably gonna seem like a random topic, but he's one of the big faces for the black intellectual space, at least to white America and mass TV, multi-corporations TV. So one thing that's when he started changing is when Donald Trump gave a State of the Union address. This is like his first one he ever gave in his previous term before Joe Biden. And Van Jones came out and said, "Today is the day Donald Trump finally became president." And I always was like, what the hell what is Van Jones talking about? It was weird. It was just like, Van Jones was a little bit of a rebel. He would like to fight a little bit. And for him to say that was like, okay, but not knowing, now looking back, he was making a pivot, a turn. He got like $100 million from Jeff Bezos for his foundation. What was the foundation? What was $100 million? Van Jones, Jeff Bezos. He got $100 million as part of the Courage and Civility Award following a space flight. So yeah, Jeff Bezos just landed in from Mars or wherever the hell he'd be going. He got so much money, this guy just goes to the moon for fun. When he could be using that money for healthcare, we could be using, tax the shit out of Jeff Bezos. If you are so bored you're just going to the moon, tax him. Tax the shit out of him. Every dollar over $1 million, he should be taxed 90 cents at least. And I know people are gonna say, whoa, no, tax the shit. No one needs that much money. Anyway, so he was given to a donation. What his foundation does, I've still yet to see it. But we know how those things go. They're buying his loyalty because they're going to position him as a major figure for black folks. So okay, so he got that. So around So around that time, like around 2012-ish area, I did a little research, is when this pivot was taking a hard turn. Like he was talking about the Tea Party and how we need to fight back and economic justice fight. But whenever you would get into deep conversation with him, you're like, okay, the economic fight, who are we fighting? How are we fighting? And what are we fighting? He would say, no, we're not fighting anybody. And you're like, well, then how are you getting justice? Where's the end? To say I need justice, there must have been an injustice. So as a lawyer, he's really good with his words. And if you really start digging deep, they're empty. And that's the major problem about the Democratic Party and whatnot. I'm not a Democrat. I don't really, but that's just the Democratic Party. That's how they move. They say all these great words, but they really mean nothing. So at this point, right, around that time is when the Democratic Party, especially with Obama, started losing. At this point, the majority of voters that are in the Democratic Party are not white. Most of the Democratic Party white voters that were there have gone Republican. I keep trying to tell people, I don't know if you're looking at the numbers. I can't find the numbers. I was looking at it, but I just thought I'd just drop the video. We're not here I don't have a staff of like people who just, all right. But anyway, people research and stuff. I got to research this myself as I have a personal life and a work life but anyway. So majority of white people do not make up the Democratic Party. They've all jumped ship. That's the reason why I say America is extremely divided. Extremely divided. And then the white people that are left in the Democratic Party, they're kind of like, we run this party. We don't really, like the higher and higher you get into the Democratic Party, the whiter and whiter it gets. Well, we got Hakeem Jeffries and who else? Jasmine Crockett in Texas. You got Ilhan Omar, Ocasio-Cortez, Jai Paul, and Al Green. You got different people in that Democratic space, but they're not doing much. So right now, what I want to show is a video of Van Jones, and he's on Bill Maher's show, and listen to what he's talking about. Listen to the word.
If progressives have a politics that says all white people are racist, all men are toxic, and all billionaires are evil, it's kind of hard to keep them on your side. And so we might want to think about, if you're chasing people out of the party, you can't be mad when they leave. And maybe if we had a different politics, we actually said dignity for everybody, everybody's respected, and we need you, more people might stay.
Okay, so now, if you listen to Van Jones, let's say 10 years ago, you can tell that $100 million from Bezos is doing his job. Because he right then and there was just pretty much talking down to progressives. Well, if the Progressive Party wants to make white men, and what do you say? If they want to make white people and white men and billionaires, let's just cut to the chase. The reason why you said white men and white people is just because you're trying to just clear the way for the billionaire part. You don't really care about white men. You don't care about white people in general. He said white people and men. I don't think the progressives are upset at men. I really don't think that's the whole thing. I mean, I consider myself a progressive. Ain't nobody upset at men. Now, the reason as to why he's saying that is he's really trying to protect the rich. See, what Van Jones is doing is what we call the great brain drain of black men. Van Jones has worked his way all the way to the top, and instead of him fighting for his people in the lower tax bracket, people who are struggling, right now we have with the what did Elon Musk put in there? What do you call it? The Elon Musk Doge. What they did was they fired thousands of black federal workers, and if you understand where most black people or black women especially have their jobs is through the federal government, whether it's a teacher, whether you're a social worker, whether you're, in one way or another, most black women's jobs within the United States, because private companies and firms do not like hiring, especially masculine black men. They would rather the black man be a homosexual or a black woman. Black males are like, being a black man in America is a motherfucker. It is the real deal. You have to show up on time, give your best. You cannot have one missing piece. If you do, you're out the door. But with Doge firing all those black women, why aren't you speaking on that, Van Jones? What about all these tax cuts these billionaires are getting? And then all of a sudden, Donald Trump has all these tariffs, and then you have homelessness, you have education. Like, this is a problem with us black men, right? And this is the thing, right? Most problems that black people face across the globe and in America especially, we didn't create them, okay? We understand that. But at the same time, it's our responsibility to fix them. You don't have to drop the bucket of water on the floor in your house, but you're gonna have to be the one that cleans it up because it is your house at the end of the day. So with a lot of these brothers, what's happening is being a coon is the new success in America. In America, for a black man to say that I'm successful, he has to be a coon. I don't care if you just landed off the plane the other day, and part of the great brain drain, like I said, I'm of African lineage. My parents were from Kenya, Africa. I was born in Michigan. I consider myself African. Still to this day, people always say, but you were born in America. Part of like the success package of a black man is to move to America, find a white woman, move to the suburbs, and live like this fake white life and just destroy your genetics over time. It's a real mental issue we have. And the last part I want to say is, a lot of people blame Martin Luther King and say Martin Luther King was the reason why all the black-owned stuff went away with their whole 60s movement of integration. And okay, look, Martin Luther King, and this is what I want to say finally, wanted to end segregation. Not so that every black person would leave their own businesses, their own companies, their own hospitals, their own banks to run and work for the white ones. He did that so that black people could go to colleges and get proper education on how to run businesses, get connections and network, and then bring it back to your community. You cannot blame Martin Luther King for where we are at as a people right now. Stop that. I'm tired of that talking point, blame Martin. If that's the case, what's stopping black people make more money than they ever made in the history of, in recent history, and we still don't own anything. Black people only own about 33% of the wealth in America, 3%. But you're the richest, but we are the richest people, group of Africans, well, money-wise. We have the most money, 3 trillion comes our way, in the world, right? The richest African group of people in the world is American. And what do we do with the money? Let's look, one last thing. What is the top things black people, top things black consumers spend their money on? Let's see. And I think you can go to Black Analyst. Okay, well, housing, yep. Housing, let's go. Let's go through this and we're gonna be done. We spend on groceries and food, you need that, $1.101 billion. We need to get our own farms. Beauty and personal care, $10.2 billion. That's y'all black women with them weaves and y'all black women with all the makeup and all that. Come on now. Housing, utilities, digital media and technology. You know black consumers spend an average of 84 hours per week consuming digital media, TV, radio. 73% of black Americans being avid gamers. We need to get out. There's nothing wrong with the internet. It's like a gun. It just depends on how you use it. But we need to start using this internet thing to our advantage, because if we're the number one, from what it's saying on here, we're the biggest consumers of digital media. And then we have apparel and luxury. Black shoppers are 20% more likely than the total population to pay extra for products that convey a specific image. They are major drivers in footwear and high-end fashion, often acting as trendsetters for the broader market. Consumers' behavior, brand loyalty and values, in-person preference, mobile engagement. So pretty much, guys, the great brain drain is real. Our brother Van Jones, I like to say, is pretty much gone. He's off into that billionaire world. And he was a great mind of ours, and we lose great minds in our community every day. Reason being, once again, you can't blame a brother because we don't build our own stuff. We don't have our own hospitals. When that brother graduates from a university of whatever, and he's a doctor, where else can he go to get a job? Because we've left this idea of Ubuntu that we speak about in Pan-Africanism, is togetherness. We've lost that. So, guys, Van Jones is gone, brother is gone. To all my other brothers, once again, Martin Luther King did not say, go get educated and move to the suburbs and get a white woman. That was not his dream. What he thought we would do was go get our education and bring it back to the community. In your youth, and that's a big thing. A lot of us like to say, well, let me go get my money, and then when I'm 59, I'm gonna come back to the community. No, stay in that community with your knowledge and your education. Like my dentist I have, right? I know I said last thing. The dentist I have lives I purposely chose a black dentist in a black neighborhood, and great guy, helped me with my teeth and everything. And I asked him how long has he been here. He said 30 years. I said, have you ever worked for like another place? He was like, yeah, for a little bit, but as soon as I had the opportunity, I wanted to move back to my neighborhood and open up. He's been there for 30 years. Brother, he's the only guy in there. He runs back and forth. But anyway, we got to get back to that. But this is Atlanta, Georgia, so it's different. I know that. It's harder in places like if you live in Idaho, if you live in, you know what I'm saying? Michigan, definitely too. But guys, we got to get back to togetherness and get rid of this brain drain stuff, because it is killing us. How many inventions we're creating for other communities? How many businesses we're running for other communities? How many, you know what I mean? Our most valuable resources are brain and our time. And we're giving, and our youth. And we're giving all our youth, our brain, and our time to a whole company that does not care about you. You know what I mean? But I understand there needs to be some balance. But anyway, Guys, let's get this day started. Have a good one. Peace, love, positivity. From your brother, Chief Mariah. Have a good one.